Hi everyone, Mark Merrill with Firm. In our special files, we focus on truth, facts, and laws for a change, folks. And what we have before us here on our screen, and before you, the American general public and the Maine general public, but first on a national level, stupid and insane breaking news statement from the woman on the bottom here, Representative Robin Kelly of Illinois. You probably all recall Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on top here. Well, Kristi Noem is facing rules of impeachment by Mrs. Wonderful here without any proof of wrongdoing in the death of Renee Good by ICE officers recently. So here's the nasty news or statement, press conference with a whole bunch of deflectocrat cronies behind her. Congresswoman Robin Kelly of Illinois spouting her anger and twisting the laws of DHS and the Constitution to force Ms. Noem's resignation. She states, quote, by impeachment and, quote, not following the rule of law under the oath of office Ms. Noem had sworn to uphold. Really? This should be interesting, to say the least.
This morning I introduced articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. I am proud to have the support of almost 70 members of Congress already from all across the country. Secretary Noem has brought her reign of terror to the Chicagoland area, LA, New Orleans, Charlotte, Durham, and communities north to south to east to west. You'll hear from some of those communities, Minnesota and Portland. She needs to be held accountable for her actions. This is why I introduced 3 articles of impeachment against Secretary Noem. Number 1, obstruction of Congress. Secretary Noem has denied me and other members of Congress oversight of ICE detention facility. I was denied access to the ICE facility in Broadview despite following Secretary Noem's unlawful 7-day notice requirement. It is our constitutional duty to find out what's happening in these centers where inhumane conditions continue to be reported. Number 2, violation of public trust. Secretary Noem directed DHS agents to arrest.
Is she kidding? Come on.
Tear gas against citizens and ignore due process. She claims she's taking murderers and rapists off our streets, but none of the 614 people arrested during Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago have been charged or convicted of murder or rape. Federal agents repelled from Black Hawk helicopters and burst through an apartment in the South Shore of Chicago. That was in my district. They dragged people, U.S. citizens and immigrants alike, out of bed in the middle of the night. Number 3 is self-dealing. Secretary Noem has abused her power for personal benefit. She steered a federal contract to a new firm run by a friend. Her propaganda campaign to recruit ICE agents cost taxpayers $200 million. She made a video that turned the South Shore raid into something that looked like a movie trailer. But make no mistake, this is not a movie. This is real life, and real people are being hurt and killed. Renee Nicole Good is dead because Secretary Noem allowed her DHS agents to run amok. Families are forever torn apart. This is not about personalities or trivial disagreements. Secretary Noem has called my impeachment effort silly. I want to tell her right now, Secretary Noem, you have violated your oath of office, and there will be consequences. I am watching you. Members of Congress are watching you. The American people, most importantly, are watching you. And most of all, we are not liking what we're seeing. If you believe impeachment is silly, then you are not taking your job or our Constitution seriously.
How about we don't take you seriously, lady? Now our commentary, folks. Representative Kelly just contradicted herself, ladies and gentlemen. She stated that, quote, but none of the 614 people that ICE arrested have been convicted of murder or rape. You know, it takes time to arrest people, especially when they're squirming and screaming at you, as far as the ICE agents go, you would have no idea what kind of a rough job that is, Ms. Kelly. I served in the armed forces, but I didn't serve in combat. I tell you what, our ICE agents had no idea that this onslaught of threats, violence, and running away and throwing rocks and throwing Molotov cocktails at ICE agents. Just talking about the immigration system here, folks. The illegals. You have no idea what kind of a problem or a hornet's nest you're stirring up against the federal government, Ms. Kelly. We're going to go over a few things about her background, folks, and it's not very pretty. That's what we do, is we investigate and we research and we find out the facts, which is what we're talking about in this episode of Firm Files, Truth, Facts, and Laws. She also directly accuses ICE officers, Ms. Kelly does, of unprofessional, threatening behavior, quote, dragging and pulling U.S. citizens, as you heard, and immigrants alike, out of bed in the middle of the night. So if she admits in her haste to put together a statement that's demeaning and demoralizing and outright lying, started way back in the Bill Clinton administration and kept going with Obama, with change. Right. Wrong. Dragging and pulling U.S. citizens and immigrants alike, she said, out of bed in the middle of the night. Then she concluded her statement accusing Secretary Noem of unsubstantiated or false claims and false arrests, including a video Ms. Noem posted some time back calling a, quote, South Shore raid by ICE agents into a movie trailer. Production, like she said here in this audio segment. Garbage, Ms. Kelly, garbage. She'd be ashamed to be a United States representative from the state of Illinois. Chicago's got enough of its own problems. It's called murders every day. It hasn't changed. Changing the mayor, Pritzker, governor, meatball. He's out having his 3 martini lunches while the city burns, and then backs up his own mayor and saying, yeah, Trump is the fault to this. It's the federal government's fault, but it's actually Donald Trump's fault because they don't believe in the federal government as long as Donald Trump's president, you see. Like we have to keep repeating this, folks, on Firm. So now we're going to give you, folks, a brief background biography on Robin Kelly, which clearly outlines racism. That's right. Biased inclusion. And a distinct, obvious attack against the Bill of Rights, Second Amendment laws, and other constitutional standards from the United States foundations and policies. Oh, what possibly could that be? Well, I'm glad you asked, folks. Robin Kelly, in a younger picture, well, this was found out on United Press International and MSN.com, whatever that stands for. Doesn't sound very legal to me. She dedicated her career to public service as an advocate for Illinois families. Is that right? Illinois families. Since being elected to serve the 2nd Congressional District there in Illinois in 2013. She's been at this 12 years. She works to expand economic opportunity, community wellness, and public safety across the state. Well, you're doing a pretty bad job of that. Championing champion for numerous initiatives to generate job growth, reduce health disparities, and end gun violence. She's a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, the main policy writing body of the House, and serves on the Health, Communications and Technology and Innovation, Data, and Commerce subcommittees. Her energy and commerce work is focused on expanding access to health care, consumer protection for American families, and economic development. Yeah, sure. I got to wring out my ears on that one. She is a member of the House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee, which sets policy direction of the Democratic caucus. You waiting for a punchline? Don't have one. Now, these last two items on her biography here, folks, like we said, is on MSN.com and the United Press International, which we didn't even believe as a newswire source was still around. But anyway, a champion of common sense gun reforms and responsible community policing, I believe it means that. Ms. Kelly is co-chair of the Congressional Gun Violence Prevention Task Force and author of the 2014 Kelly Report on Gun Violence in America, the first ever congressional analysis of the nation's gun violence epidemic that offers a blueprint for ending the crisis. All the murders in Chicago. I'm not laughing about it, folks. I'm laughing at her. You should be, too. Violence, gun reforms, common sense, community policing. Come on. She was a member of the Illinois House of Representatives and served as chief administrative officer to Cook County, the next largest county in the United States, and was chief of staff to Illinois State Treasurer Alexi Giannoulias, becoming the first African-American woman to serve as chief of staff to an elected constitutional statewide office holder. Daughter of a small business owner and postal worker, Congresswoman Kelly moved to Illinois to attend Bradley University, earned her bachelor's in psychology and a master's in counseling. Later received a PhD in political science from Northern Illinois University and is an active member of a historically black sorority. Now, with that being said, folks, there really isn't much else to say about this woman. Yuck. We're just going to kind of pass that over, if you don't mind. We're going to get to another story here shortly, folks. It has to do with the Maine Policy Institute and immigration in the state of Maine. And ICE as well. Even though we're talking about truth, facts, and laws in this episode of Firm. So as we continue, ladies and gentlemen, share a new little piece of information here to give you an idea as to what's going on in the state of Maine with policy and ICE possibly coming to Maine. We have another segment coming up here in the audio portion of our program, folks. And it's the gentleman from the, as you can see, Maine Policy Institute. Also going to be talking about many things that the Mills administration may not be aware of. But you know what? It's coming pretty soon. Might even be in the month of January. Let's check this out, shall we?
Chat about one of the big things that's going around the state of Maine is, I don't know, fear, apprehension, conflict, panic, whatever you want to call it, about the potential that some people have heard of the possibility of ICE raids or a greater response to Janet Mills saying that local law enforcement can't work with them?
Why, yes, I do, Garrick.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
So I don't know if it was that or if it's actually because like they need more, just generally like more resources from them to carry out major operations. Or, you know what I mean?
I don't think it's resources so much as by coordination you kind of learn the logistics on the ground, and maybe ICE is after somebody who has had run-ins with local police, so then the local police can be like, yeah, he frequents this place and we see him here, and he goes to this, suspected drug house over there, and whatever the case might be, more so than like monetary or financial resources.
Yeah, I mean manpower when I said that. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's pretty political. I mean, I see what Jake's saying, but this is Maine. I mean, I know that we have a Somali population. I know there's an asylee population. I know it's not like there's nothing here. It's just we're talking about a northern state with a pretty small population to begin with, and then certainly a smaller population of problematic individuals. Maybe would be the way I would describe this, right? Compared to Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and California and actually even some of the larger states that are on the coasts and maybe even on the northwest, like I'm sure Washington and stuff like that. I just feel like we're kind of low on that.
Yeah, I think it has more to do with kind of the topic du jour, if you will, in terms of the issues with Somali Medicaid stuff and Maine kind of being in the limelight for that, in addition to Minnesota and some of the issues of fraud and so on and so forth. I think that there were other cities that were higher on the totem pole, if you will, of importance where ICE, where the Trump administration had plans for ICE, and given the notoriety of Maine and some of these other states, Minnesota also being one where you just saw a big crackdown before this alleged crackdown that's going to be ongoing in Maine over the next 2 weeks, they've said, I think it's kind of just a natural flow of things. I don't know if I would attribute it necessarily. Now, I can't rule it out, but I don't think Trump or people in his administration are incredibly hyper-focused on state-level laws that are being passed in Maine. I don't know if it's actually a response to the governor letting that bill become law, or because it was simply Maine's turn for this action to occur.
It could be both. I mean, I just find it likely that Janet Mills annoys him, and now Janet Mills did another thing, and whether or not they care about it all that much or not, I can see him scanning Twitter and seeing, well, Janet Mills did what?
Yeah.
And then suddenly that just put Maine a little further up the list.
Right.
Further up the list. Well, you heard it, folks. The gentleman from the Maine Policy Institute, the most recent program that they had back, I believe it was on January 15th. As we wrap up the program, folks, we always want to make it known to leave on an up note, which is what we shall do here in just a moment. We have a final closing statement for everyone. Right here and now, I want to make sure that you can see and take advantage of our information that we like to leave with you on a regular basis, and it's always on every one of our podcasts. And if there's ever a time for our state of Maine and other blue states like Minnesota, New York, California, and more, we the people must pray and ask for guidance to correct the course of the United States toward God's goodwill and stop the unnerving travesties and ongoing threats to the federal government and the destruction of that government, and go back or get back towards sovereignty and respect for others, especially those young Americans that seek truth, reality, and common sense. I'm Mark Merrill, your host for Firm Fairness in Reporting Media. Contact us anytime right here at fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, and we're also on YouTube and Twitter, or X. As always, as mentioned earlier, pray for our state and our future. Spiritual change, as well as government change for the better of our for society, in our state, other states, and the entire country. Peace to all.